Ryan, you were able to close out the game.
Yeah.
And defense made play after play. Just what has your defense done over these last 5 weeks to change from what we saw at Virginia to what we've seen the last 5 weeks?
You know, obviously we had the schematic sort of shift after the Virginia game, but what we've done is just learn how to handle and deal with adversity. Guys have had to step up. You know, it's crazy. Jake Hansen, of all people, the going into the first game, sort of stood up for the team and was talking about, hey, at some point adversity is going to hit throughout the season, maybe an injury, and it ended up ended up being him. But he stressed the importance of sort of the next man up mentality, and rallying together and with each other to push forward and push through adversities, right? And so obviously we've been hit with adversity from a win-loss column, from an injury standpoint, and we've done just that as a defense. I feel like, you know, Tariq and Kalen both have stepped up in the starting roles and have performed lights out. You know, you saw the impact they had on Saturday, and so just learning from those moments, you know, learning how to close out a game and play, you know, 4 quarters or however long it's going to take to be able to get a victory. You know, that was one of the messages we talked about at halftime was, you know, we had to learn this season through those moments, through those fourth quarters where we gave up points at the end of the game to give it away, and that we're built for that now. We're built for times like this. I didn't know it was going to be 9 overtimes, but I knew it was going to come down to a fourth down, you know, stop or a last drive of going into, you know, closing out the fourth quarter. And the message was just to stay aggressive. Like we are at our best when we're aggressive, and I'm not saying from a play call standpoint, but just from a mentality to, you know, challenge people to be competitive and not shy away from or get frightened by the moment or getting, you know, sort of deer in the headlights look, you know, during those crunch time moments, and, you know, being on the sideline and seeing just their demeanor, you know, through sudden change scenarios, their demeanor on third downs, their demeanor, you know, going in during overtimes, you know, and then getting to the 2-point plays. They never were shook. They never wavered, and you know, just the theme was let's go win the game, and they did that. I was happy for them and proud of them.
Kalen's played a little on the edge here more lately. What has he given your defense? You seem to be playing him a little bit everywhere.
Yeah, well, he's super athletic. I always tease him like he looks like an action figure, just the way he's built. You know, long arms, explosive. He's, you know, chiseled up guy. So just taking advantage of his skill set as an athlete. You know, Coach Boo's done a great job with him on teaching him how to pass rush. And, you know, we obviously drop him more than we do bring him. But we brought him. He got a sack, and just to have that versatility with him, you know, on the line of scrimmage or off the ball, has definitely been huge. And he's made a ton of plays. You know, he had the PBU on the last 2-point conversion, and he, like I said, he had the sack and a litany of other plays. He's done a really good job, and he's a hell of an athlete.
Coach, you won the line of scrimmage, which hasn't always been the case this year. What was the difference you think on Saturday? Was it technique, or was it scheme, or effort? Or?
You know, I think you know, the scheme hasn't really changed since after Virginia. I know Coach Jamison really made a big deal this week about playing with good technique and just like I said, an aggressive mentality, and you know, specifically from our nose guard, like Rod Perry is a strong guy in there, and so he was able to control the line of scrimmage. Anytime you can control the line of scrimmage right in front of the football, it definitely helps. And then our younger guys are learning how to play with good pad level, good technique, snap in and snap out for 4 quarters. So you saw, you know, Keith Randolph made a bunch of huge plays. You know, Johnny Newton made a bunch of huge plays in there. And you turn on the tape and it looks like they're individual drills. And so, you know, kudos to those guys for being coachable and taking key coaching points from Coach Jamison and translating that to a live in-game action when it matters the most. And so really proud of those guys and the way they've, you know, bounced back from a couple weeks ago, specifically in the run game.
In your experience, how can winning on the road against the top 10 team help confidence mentality for a defense?
Well, I think it solidifies and reaffirms sort of what you've been preaching, what you've believed in throughout the course of the season, right? You talk about how preparation breeds confidence, and you know, when you're out there to play confident, it allows you to pull the trigger, like I've been saying, and so it reaffirms all that. It gives you something tangible to show you that what you're doing is working, and to continue to do so and believe in the culture.
Ryan, what did you read out of your guys on all those overtimes? I mean, you're on the sideline with them. What did you notice out of them to keep 7 times stopping them?
I mean, they were calm, like almost like awkwardly calm, you know. Like I feel like they were more prepared than I was for the moment, and they just believe, you know, they believed they were going to win the game. Didn't matter how long it took. You know, they came out one of the 2-point plays, and you know, I'm looking on the field and you see Johnny like yelling at it, you know, and I'm just like, this is awesome to see. You know what I mean? I don't think it would have mattered what I called. We were going to get stops because of the way they were wired in and embracing the moment.
You have a cornerback in Tony who was passed up earlier in the season, and for him to come back, a 5th-year guy with the new staff, what does it say about him? And then obviously some key plays on Saturday.
Yeah, just, you know, again, how to handle and deal with adversity. You know, I think these are life lessons that these guys hopefully carry on throughout their lives and are able to teach others. You know what I mean? And just the way he's been able to bounce back and again start playing with confidence. Like that's all it was just the either being confident or having a lack of confidence, and you know, for him to come out and play the way he played. And continue to grind it out and stack days. You know, happy for him and proud of him in that moment too.
Coach, your defense the last few weeks before Penn State had forced a ton of takeaways. It seemed like to be able to get a win without getting one. What does that kind of say about your group?
You know, obviously that was the one area where I was like, man, we could have had a couple takes. You know, we had the guy made a great play. Number 5 made a great play. I thought we were in position to get the ball. We had one on the ground that we didn't come up with. A couple of opportunities where I felt like we could have, you know, maybe had some strip attempts. But the emphasis for us was to get off the field in whatever way possible. And 3rd downs had been an issue the last couple of weeks, and so that was another point of emphasis this week in particular. And you know, I think they were like 4-17 on 3rd downs. I think we were like 76% win percentage. So anytime you're, you know, above that 67 mark, you're doing pretty good. And so we were able to get stops when we needed them, specifically in those sudden change situations. Like those are big stops, you know, and so that kind of negates the turnover margin, if you will. So obviously we'd love to get more turnovers to get more momentum and add to possessions, but when you don't get those turnovers, you got to get off the field on 3rd downs, and we were able to do so.
What's Rutgers bringing offensively that might present some challenges for you?
He's super creative. The offense coordinator there obviously had made his mark at Princeton, where they were scoring a ton of points. You know, then obviously he went to Oklahoma State and is now at Rutgers, and he's very creative with run game. You know, you'll get different kind of gap schemes. They got a multitude of running backs that can carry the football and pose problems when they're out on the perimeter. You know, they got the number 2, the receiver. He could flat out fly. You know, he outran you know, the entire Ohio State defense, you know, for a long game. So they got guys, and they got a good scheme. We'll have to be dialed into the quarterback run game. You know, they use the quarterback a lot. They've got a couple guys that will line up in some wildcat packages and again, you know, just give you false reads in the run game. So it'll be a physical game up front for us. We got to really, you know, assert ourselves at the line of scrimmage, and then we got to have our eyes in the right spot for all the guard pulls and the misdirections, and we got to keep a roof on the defense to prevent those fast guys from getting on the field.
Ryan, it looked like in the 7th overtime, Penn State drew up a pretty good play with that shovel pass. As you watched it again, or maybe even in real time, to see Keith make that play, what were your thoughts, and then how has he grown?
You know, my thoughts were it's exactly what we did in practice. You know, we had run that play a couple times, specifically on Thursday. So to see that transpire in like a crunch time moment, and guys fit it the proper way, and see what kind of was happening, and have the recall from that week's preparation is awesome. Again, it was just an example of taking what you do in practice and Coach talks about it all the time. You know, practice habits become game day reality, and that was the case on Saturday.
Ryan, how have your cornerbacks, specifically out on the perimeter, been able to be so solid in one-on-one tackling? It just seems like people are trying to get matchups all the time out there, and you guys are making tackles.
Yeah, you know, for one, those guys, they've got the want to be physical, you know, and a lot of times, you know, being able to make a tackle is the want to. We got aggressive guys on the perimeter. You know, they're playing with proper technique, you know, depending on what play is called. You know, so if we've got a cloud corner, they understand, you know, where their eyes need to be, and Coach Henry's done a good job of giving them keys week to week to give them the run pass keys. And then when they see it, they pull the trigger and leverage the football properly. And we got a lot of guys that are bursting out of the stack up front to condense those angles and not give ball carriers two-way goes. And so, again, our guys are good when they're playing aggressive, and those guys on the perimeter are definitely doing that.
Coach, in these final 4 games, is there a item or two you really want to see the guys get better at? Is there something, you know, got for a lot?
You know, yeah, every day, every week, every time we're out at practice, we need to see improvement in something. You know what I mean? And whether it's technique, whether it's you know, disguise, you know, whether it's pad level, I think you've never arrived, and we're always trying to improve. Any one area, I wouldn't say there's any one specific thing. We just need to, as a collective unit, continue to improve and work to get better every day.
Coach, do you have a process for those 7 back-to-back 2-point conversions? Is it different from a normal play call, or is it, you know, more involved of reading what they're putting on? How did that go?
Yeah, you know, usually you anticipate like 1 or 2 2-point conversions. You know, like we practice them on Thursdays. I've never been in a situation where you've had to have as many as we did. You know, but based on the personnel, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to get. You know, I went back and watched, you know, 2-point plays from Penn State a year ago, and then also watched 2-point plays from Texas, where their offense coordinator was. So I you know, had an idea of what to expect, which is why we practiced the shovel pass. But you know, you got some 2-point design calls, but there were also times where you know, I had seen, okay, they've sort of ran through the whole 2-point plays that I've watched, and so you kind of have to go feel after that. And you know, to our guys' credit, they didn't waver, and they just executed the play that was called and got their eyes in the right spot. And you know, that last one that Kalen knocked down, that was huge. You know, he played his technique perfect, and if he didn't, the guy would have been open. So it's a testament to the kids. It's, when you get to seven 2-point plays, you know, the scheme's out the window at that point. It's all the guys on the field.
And do you reduce to those, you know, just the base defense? Like, you know, have they gone 5 wide? Would you switch up, or do you want your main guys on there for something like that?
You want you match personnel, obviously. You know, if that's to me, that's anywhere on the field. It just happened to be, you know, those most of those 2-point plays were 11 personnel, which is why we got our base defense out there.
Coach, it seems like you had Sean Clifford second guessing things a little bit. As far as disguising coverages, is that something that gets more refined and detailed as the season goes along?
Yeah, I think, you know, guys get comfortable and start to learn, you know, where they can and can't cheat alignment in order to take care of their assignment. Obviously, assignment is the most important aspect of the play call. But, you know, if we can disguise our coverages and just allow the quarterback or make the quarterback hold the ball for a half second longer, you know, it ties into the pass rush and, you know, allows us to be in an advantageous situation. So I think the more the guys get comfortable with you know, exactly what they need to do and how they're lined up and really their demeanor, that's I think why we've been able to disguise and confuse the quarterback just a little bit more.
Ryan, after not having him in the spring, what did you think he was going to get out of Tyreek this fall, and has he matched or exceeded those expectations?
Yeah, you know, from watching the tape from a year ago, I knew he was a tough kid. I knew he was not shy from contact. I knew he could run. You know, it's been fun to see him grow as a leader. Like, he's sort of taking the reins now that he knows he's the signal caller, and you know, he made a couple decisions on Saturday to get us in the right check. That was really good to see. You know, he was loud, he was vocal. You know, I always go back and watch the TV copy, and you could hear him barking out there. And so that was I didn't know that he was that type of guy. So to see that from him, and to sort of see him grow and mature, and be confident as a leader has been awesome.
Ryan, can I ask you your defense perspective on a 9 offensive line front? What challenges does that present,
Yeah, I mean,
especially nowadays when people aren't probably prepared for that?
Yeah, they put extra line. You got to put extra defensive linemen out there, right? Like that's, you know, you got to match up personnel wise. I know, you know, if we'd have been in that situation, it would have definitely caught us off guard. You know, so but you got to be able to adjust, and definitely poses a problem in the run game. You know, so kudos to TP for being creative that way, and those guys executing that plan, man. That was something fun to watch, and obviously condenses the game down, which is awesome for us defensive guys. So you know, I was happy to see that.
Coach, I think you blitzed Tariq Barnes on the first play, and you continue to do it throughout the game. What makes him a gifted blitzer?
You know, anytime you blow somebody through an A gap, it can pose problems, right? And so to get him to do that and pick spots where you think it'd be advantageous. You know, he's a guy that's aggressive, and I knew they were having problems blocking him after the first couple plays, and so I got a couple holding calls because of it. And you know, he's an aggressive guy, and you know, we see that in practice when we do send them. And you know, like I say, Coach Boo's done a good job with he and Kalen, and just on their blitz technique.
Is this something timing wise? And it seemed like he maybe had practiced that, or had an idea of how to time that up. Is that something you guys worked on? Was that?
Yeah, I mean,
holding him, or?
yeah. Obviously, you want to time, but you don't want to just show them you're coming. You know what I mean? There's an element of surprise to it. That's advantageous for us defensively, and so I think just through film study and also getting a feel for their cadence, and the timing of everything. You know, they were a check with me team, so after a certain amount of check with me, the play clock is running. You know what I mean? So you know, you can kind of feel when they're getting ready set to snap the football, and like you'll only get better at that. You know, I was happy as heck to see him perform the way he did, and it's just a testament to how he practices and how he prepares.